Okay. So now we're officially beginning, and it's lovely to be here with you. It is December 31st, 2022, and we sit at the threshold of a new year. So that is the theme of our class. The theme today is called Threshold. And I want to speak a little bit about thresholds in general. And then we're going to dive into some movement, and I have a poem and all of those fun things that we get to do together. So I think the first thing that I want to say about standing on a threshold is that we often mark these, for example, from the end of a year and the beginning of another year. But we have many, many thresholds throughout our lives, some of which are marked by loss and some of which are marked by celebration. And when we stand upon the threshold of change, it is in many ways asking us to let go of who we have been and open up to who we're becoming. And all change, whether it's wanted change or unwanted change, can feel unsettling. And what I think is profound about standing on our yoga mats is that we practice standing on a threshold. We practice being in the midst of a change process so that it helps us know a little bit better how to attend to the changes that happen in our lives. Again, both the wanted and the unwanted. Threshold, the word thresh actually comes from the removing of a grain from its shell, from the hardened shell or from the inedible shell. And so when we're threshing, it's like we are that grain losing our shell, and we're stepping out of an old identity and into a new one that is sometimes yet unknown. So we stand in a liminal space or an in-between space. And we also think of thresholds as those places in our homes or at the entry of our home where we're going from outside to inside or from one room to the next. And thresholds mark our forward movement. They mark those changes. And they mark the moments in which we are in one state of being and transitioning to another. And thresholds invite us to honor what's on both sides of that doorway, right? Who we have been and who we are becoming. So how do we know when we're on a threshold other than the ones that happen at, these junctures of the end of a year and so forth? I think we feel a quickening. We can feel the intensity of it. We might have an emotional response, right? And it's valuable to take pause. And I don't think our culture does that well. We can just rush past those moments. And so we practice pausing and noticing and taking stock of those changes and what we're letting go of and what we're allowing in. And that's the invitation today, is to pause and take notice. It's not necessarily to set kind of grand, intentions or our resolutions, but just to take hold of who we've been, what's ready to be let go, and what we're ready to bring in. So I'll invite you to pause, to take a moment to reflect upon this juncture in your own life. Or perhaps a significant threshold that you have been standing on that has nothing to do with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And just notice what arises in relationship to the theme. Perhaps asking yourself what you need to honor right now to mark this moment. So together, we will move today across the threshold or stand on the threshold. We can imagine our yoga mat represents this. And I hope that we will emerge refreshed and renewed and into this unfolding newness that awaits you, that awaits all of us. I think marking thresholds in community is profound. and it allows us to feel both seen and heard and known and witnessed, and that's necessary in many of these big junctures of our lives. I'll also say that as someone who I think has been embracing threshold awakening for a long time, that there are many ways each and every day we can view every time we step on our mat as a threshold journey. We can view every time we go out to watch a sunset as a threshold journey. Right? And that the more that we practice standing in liminal space, the better we get at it. The more comfortable we are in a little bit of honoring the unknown. So with that said, I'm going to read the poem, but I will invite you to place either hand over your heart or palm to palm, whatever feels natural. I'll keep one hand there because I'm going to read you the poem. And this poem is called On the Eve of This New Year, We Exhale. And it is by Kate Bessel. We exhale. With hands on our hearts, feeling the subtle fall under the heat of open palms, minds and lungs acknowledging all that we release. Lowering our chins as we honor the sorrows and acknowledge the exhilaration for all of our past grief and all that teaches us. To experience joy in any moment, we bow to each other. Through bowing to ourselves, feeling the gratitude of a dozen souls for that which was illuminated, for that which was transformed in these past dozen months. Reverence for the darkness and an acknowledging for those whose light gently guided us back to loving ourselves when all felt hopeless and all felt lost. Reverence for the darkness and an acknowledging for those whose light gently guided us back to loving ourselves when all felt hopeless, when all felt lost. Remembering the smiles as they shone themselves in the innocent eyes of our children through wet tears, those children who taught us to both see and let go. Falling and rising, we listened to the whispers and we spoke with our hearts as our white-knuckled fists of rage slowly have begun to relax, opening now to both give and receive. We inhale to prepare for it all, filling our hearts to guide us forward, flowing over this threshold, finding ease with our breath and a fire in our spirits for all that is new, minding still the echoes from our collective voice, our bleeding hearts now healing, remembering those souls whose energy still resonates, now from only pure love and white light. We turn from all that was toward the silver platter of golden opportunities, looking up and opening our eyes to effortlessly see the new beauty being born, a constant renewing of time and space. Our breath will ebb and flow, along with the oceans between us, fueling vulnerable hearts to open to it all. We will witness the resurfacing of the sparkle in the eyes of our most wounded, like the sun finding its way back from behind the clouds. To glisten on cool waters around this sun of ours, on a new revolution we embark, allowing our inner lights to guide. Curiously, we look only forward to the gentle unfolding of that which patiently awaits. Okay. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And in this next inhale, an invitation to transition onto your mat if you're not there already. I will do the same, and arriving on your mat today in Shavasana on your back. Let's start there. It may be helpful to have blocks for today's practice. I have one set at the back of my mat, one at the front of my mat. So you can set that up now or when we sit up, there's no rush. Arriving on your back, and take a moment. You can bring your arms out wide, palms facing upward. Perhaps settling into your breath a little bit more, feeling the gravity, the weight of your body on the earth, and the support of the mat beneath you, your threshold space. And again, perhaps resting in the intention of releasing or letting go that which no longer serves you, and to opening yourself up to that which you are ready for, the newness. And an invitation to bring your arms up, your hands under your head. So your hands could be clasped or just resting underneath the base of your skull. Your thumbs might rest down at the nape of your neck, or the base of your skull, I should say, the kind of right at where the occiput lies. And we're going to add in a basic exercise here. You can keep your legs long, or you might choose to bend your knees, whatever is most comfortable for your low back. And the basic exercise is a movement of your eyes. The rest of your body will stay as is. But with eyes open, perhaps, taking your eyes to gaze all the way towards your right elbow. And notice if your chin wants to follow, and letting your head stay steady and resting on your hands on the earth. And just your eyes reach. And you might notice as you breathe here an urge for a sigh, or a deeper breath, or a yawn, or none of the above. All is fine, all is welcome. One more breath as you reach your eyes to the right. And then returning your eyes to center, heavy on the mat, recalibrate for a moment. And then bringing your eyes all the way to the left, as if looking at your left elbow. Again, noticing if your chin or head wants to turn, and allowing your head to stay stable. It's just your eyes reach and stretch. If you're not familiar with the basic exercise, it comes from Stanley Rosenberg's book, The Healing Power of the Vagus Nerve. And it's a reset for the upper cervical vertebrae, helps to increase arterial blood flow to the vagus nerve. Another stretch of your eyes, breath here. And then slowly bringing your eyes back to center. And you might notice that there's a little bit of sensation, or a lot of sensation, with just these simple eye movements. So we take a moment to integrate and receive. Beautiful. And then removing your hands from behind your head, and this time drawing your right knee in. You can clasp around the front of your right shin if you'd like, and then maybe re-lengthening through your left leg if it was bent. And then in this half wind removing pose, just feeling the massage across your ascending colon, your digestive organs. And perhaps taking right knee across to the left side of your body in a gentle morning or afternoon, depending on your time of day, supine spinal twist. So as we take left or leg to the left, you might gaze toward the right, this time turning your head to gaze towards your right fingertips. And your right knee doesn't have to touch the floor. You might notice that I'm supporting mine with my hand. The right shoulder ideally is still resting onto the earth. Another breath here. And then returning to center, we'll switch that out. You can draw left knee in, hugging around your left shin, and maybe right leg goes long. And a few breaths here, wind removing pose. Great for digestion, this time massaging across your descending colon. And then left knee across to the right side of your body. Perhaps keeping left shoulder grounded onto the earth. And you might take your gaze towards your left fingertips. Beautiful. Coming back to center, lowering left foot to the earth, and once again lifting through your right leg. Now this time we can draw the right leg up to the sky here, the foot towards your ceiling. And you can keep a micro bend or a deep bend in your right leg, depending on your flexibility. And hands perhaps clasping behind your right thigh. You can keep the left knee bent, or maybe left leg is long. And feeling into the back of your right leg, your hamstring. And you might take a few rotations, right foot around ankle in one direction and the other direction. And then from here, we're going to rebend right knee, clasping around your right shin. And this time lifting through your upper body, nose towards knee, and maybe hovering left leg, left heel off the earth. And now we're waking up through the core. And you can allow your breath to rise to meet the shape. You can stay right here, or you might lift your left leg and lower. Breathing as you move. Beautiful. Lowering your left leg and placing right ankle over the top of your left thigh. Hands behind head again, this time taking left elbow towards your right knee. Inhale as we open, exhale as we cross the body. And you can keep left foot on the earth, or you might lift it for these last few oblique twists. Beautiful. Coming back through to center, lowering upper body, and for a moment, finding a supine figure four stretch as you thread the hands through, taking hold of the back of your left leg. And you might find stillness or small micro movements or even larger body movements, greeting your right hip, and wherever else you feel this stretch in your body. A beautiful place to come back to long, slow, regulated breathing. And we'll take this all into side two. So placing right foot on the mat, drawing left leg, left foot up to the ceiling. You can clasp behind your left thigh, and maybe you extend your right leg long. That's up to you. And a few rotations of your left foot around the ankle, one direction and the other. And then bending the knee, clasping, just like we did before with wind removing, except this time we lift upper body, knee towards chin, and maybe we hover right leg off the earth. This is a lovely place to stay. Again, we're waking up the core, and maybe you go a little further, lifting right leg and lowering. Good. And then right foot to the earth, left ankle across right thigh, hands behind your head, right elbow to left knee. And maybe right foot comes off the earth. Last one here. And then lowering upper body, clasping behind your right thigh. And a little bit of a figure four, greeting your left hip. Hello. Sending your breath there. You can imagine that you have a little set of lungs in your hips here and a straw that sends your breath all the way down there. Beautiful. I'm going to unwind the legs, this time hands behind both knees. And if it feels right for you, a few rocks on your spine. We're going to rock up and we're going to find a balance in boat pose. Now, boat pose, you can have your toes on the ground, you can have your shins lifted, you can release hands from behind the knees and find a long spine. You can also, if you'd like, have your hands behind you. So lots of ways to find a boat pose that suits you, that supports you, and you can perhaps even sense once again in our threshold theme that we're in the in-between. And then from here, invitation to open knees wide, keeping feet together. So I'm in kind of a little cobbler boat combination. And then from here, a rock back once again, and maybe a balance point. Okay, let's try that again. A rock and balance. Notice how your core has to awaken to support that one more time. Into balance. And then soles of the feet on the floor, knees wide, seated cobblers. And a few breaths here. You might lean forward, you might hold on to your feet, you might even massage your feet. That can feel really yummy right here. You can use your elbows and give them a little bit of a press down towards the earth. You can lengthen your spine around, really letting your sensations be your guide. So in the threshold space, we often are kind of looking ahead or looking behind, but in all honesty, where we really need to be is standing right where we are, or seated right where we are in this case, so that we can respond to what's right before us. Your sensations are your guide here. I'm going to invite you to lift up, and we're going to find that little bit of a rock back once again. So from that shape, we're going to lift the feet and a rock, a lift, this time extending right leg forward, left knee bend. So we're in a one-legged shape, a Janu Shirsasana, a head to knee shape, and a little bit of a forward fold. And in this forward fold, we're not here too long. It's really just a greeting of this shape. You might find your side bodies as well, reaching around. And then up and around. Those who have practiced with me know this move. We're going to plant left hand, lift hips, lift right arm, and settle back down. Around into that forward fold, up and over, stargazer, lifting hips, lifting hands, and one more time into that fold. From here, we're drawing right foot with us back to cobblers, rolling back, lifting up opposite leg, extends long. Here we are, forward fold, lifting up, finding this shape on side two, might have a different story to tell. And you can open up into that side body as we lean left shoulder towards left knee, right arm overhead. And then up and around, right hand plants, hips can lift and lower all the way to that forward fold. Up and around, lift and lower down, around. Beautiful. From here, we're going to lift up. We're coming back through to cobblers. Once again, our little theme of a roll back, a lift up, maybe a balance for a moment. And as we settle, feet leaning into left hip as right knee comes to the inside of your left foot. This is deer shape. And in deer, you can just reach around, continue to twist towards the left. Your right arm might lift overhead, or you might find bowing to the earth, really listening to how your body greets this shape. We can even find a variation leaning over your front shin, like a little bit of a bent knee pigeon pose here. Just playing around with how your body makes deer your very own. And finally starting to warm up in our chilly Colorado morning. All righty. And then we're coming back through to center, feet together. Give it a roll. And a balance. Planting feet, and this time it is left knee to the inside of your right foot. And as we twist around, continuing towards the right, and a few breaths here to make this shape your very own. You might come in and out of the twist. You might find a little forward fold, bowing your head and lifting back up, or folding in the direction of your front right shin. All righty, one last time as we turn around to center, feet together, roll it back, this time up and over your shins into a tabletop. And a few moments here, once again, to find your free flow. How does your body want to move today? Greet, be guided by your sensations, wake up or wake up for the second or third time today. Right? There is no limit. You don't have to keep both knees on the ground. There's no prescription here. And when we follow sensation, we are flushing our brains with sensory motor input. It's this beautiful wake up of the mind-body connection. Now, I'll guide some movement here. Of course, you can continue to do your very own thing. Now, I'm going to have you have your toes back for this so that the tops of the feet are on the floor. And as we inhale into cow pose, lifting head and tail, find your breath. And on the exhale, as we round the spine, maybe lift your knees off the earth. Inhale, lower shins. Exhale, cat. Lifting shins off. You're balancing on the tops of your toes. One last time like that. Cow and cat. Beautiful. Lowering down through your knees. Maybe you tap out through the tops of your feet or roll them out for a moment. And then from here, invitation to take your left knee back behind you. And you can keep the left leg bent or straight, up to you. We're going to draw left knee under your body. Inhale. And to your left shoulder. Exhale under. Inhale. Exhale to the side. Inhale. Listen carefully. Exhale, planting left toes on the earth. And just a few heel rocks for a moment. Greeting your left calf and back of the leg. And then we're going to find a little balance play here. So we're pressing left toes down, pressing both hands down, lifting right knee. Gazing downward for a moment. And then planting right knee a little closer to center and send your right foot to the left as we slide the left knee behind the right and opening left shin to the right to come into cow facing pose. Now, this can be a little intense on the knees or the hips, and your block might be a handy friend here, which means that you can come sitting up a little higher in this knee above knee, if I show it from another direction here, right? If we're in this little shoelace shape with the lower legs or the legs in general. Okay, so with or without your block, and I think I'll stay facing you for a moment. Maybe you place your hands on your feet. Maybe you draw your arms up and you take right arm underneath the left, and you can either hug yourself here or you wrap around into eagle arms with the forearms crossed and the hands clasped. Whichever shape you've chosen, finding your breath. And then releasing the hands. And from here, going back to where I was facing before, we're going to roll forward to unwind, sending your left leg back where it was. This time, right shin can go behind you as you come all the way up and around into gate. And taking a lean into your left leg, and finding your breath here. You might gaze down or forward or up. Let it feel good. And then as we lift up here, an invitation to take your hands forward onto the mat in front of you. Okay. From this shape, keeping right hand grounded, left arm, same side as that extended left leg, is going to lift. And then exhale as we curl under. We're not staying there. We're going to move with the breath. Inhale to unfurl like a fern to the sun. And exhale as we curl underneath. One more like that. And listen carefully. From here, we're going to begin to walk the hands towards your left foot. You can begin to turn your body, including flexing your left toes towards the ceiling. And you might stay here for a moment with both hands towards the inside edge of your left foot and just finding those sweet spots of sensation. And you can stay here, or you might continue to walk around. You can adjust your right knee a little wider, whatever you need. Finding your way into this little hamstring opener on the left side, a half Hanumanasana, half monkey splits here. Okay. And we're not here too long, greeting this shape and then bending into your left knee as we come into a lunge. And you might have a block back there that's handy for a moment just to support you in this shape before eventually planting your hands, curling right toes under, stepping left back to meet the right, and we're in a downward facing dog. Now it's a first downward dog of this practice. And just like we did in our tabletop, let this really just be guided by your sensations, make it yours. You can bend both knees and lengthen them and walk it out. You might shorten your stance and reach underneath for opposite ankle. These are all just options and a little bit of your own playtime. Eventually, knowing that we'll come back and play here again, but for now, taking knees to the earth, coming back to tabletop, and we'll find our way to the front of the mat from side two. This time, right leg lifts, and exhale under your body. Inhale towards your right shoulder. Inhale. Underneath. Inhale to your right shoulder. And then sending right leg back, placing the toes down and a few heel rocks here. Knowing that when we add that little rocking motion, the whole body gets to go for a ride for a moment, right? It feels so good just to let a little momentum, shake things loose. And then we'll find our strength here. So turning the toes under, pressing firmly into your hands to lift left knee off the ground. A few breaths, breathing this shape, feeling your strength. And of course, everything's optional. If you want to keep that knee down, go for it. We're all going to meet you there now. Planting left knee, opening left shin towards the right, sliding right knee behind the left, opening right shin to the left. And we're coming into cow face on side two. And then maybe you sit on a block or you come back to sit between your shins, your heels. Now, if this creates discomfort in your knees, flex your feet, see what happens. See if that relieves the knees, or lift up onto that block. You can take your hands to your feet, or like we did on side one, maybe you take left arm underneath right, pause in that hug, or find the full eagle wrap of your arms, and taking a few breaths here into the sensations that arise within the shape. As with every posture in our yoga practice, it's not the outer look that is important. It is what's happening inside, not just with your sensate experience, but also what's happening in between your ears, what's happening in your mind. What are you saying to yourself? What kinds of thoughts are accompanying you on your journey? And then we'll release, releasing the arms. We're going to roll forward. And if you need a different transition out of this, take it. Eventually that right foot is back as the left knee comes to the earth. And then we're going to take left shin back and transition all the way up and around into gate pose. Now, You might pause and gaze down or forward or up. Let this feel good. Come in and out of it. And then as we lift up, we're going to come straight forward, hands to the earth. And we'll lift right arm to the sky and exhale underneath, moving with your breath. Last time here. Beautiful. Planting hands. We're going to begin to walk towards your right leg. Now the right foot can turn up towards the ceiling and the left shin back. And you might pause for a moment on the inside of your leg. Or eventually walking around to have your torso above your right leg. And finding your way in, and if you need a block to lift you up higher, right? Honoring your body, honoring your edge. Nobody else gets to tell you what that is for you. And you might stay here longer, or you can slide your right heel back and come into a low lunge and pause here for a moment, greeting this shape. Before eventually curling left toes under, planting your hands and stepping right foot to meet the left. And we are once again in our downward facing dog. You might find some movements once again, or you might prefer to come into stillness and allow the subtle movement of your breath to just help you track what's happening inside. In this threshold moment, the quality of mind and emotions and sensations, even sensing the energy that's moving through you, all your guide. And eventually gazing forward and taking a nice slow walk to the front of your mat. And bending your knees, finding your way into ragdoll or some version of a forward fold. And you can always bring the floor closer with the block. You might take your pinkies to opposite elbow creases. You might nod your head yes and shake it no. Ah. A lovely place to let your voice go. Sigh something out. Let's do that one more time. Inhale. And let something go. And releasing your hands. And your choice how you'd like to come up to standing with a long spine, or maybe rolling up vertebra by vertebra until you arrive in Samastitihi, equal standing pose. And taking a moment to sense yourself in a new relationship to gravity. What is happening now? You can have your hands by your sides, or maybe palm to palm in front of your heart. Perhaps returning to your intention for this class, and I will offer up the words. I release anything that no longer serves me. I am open to receiving that which supports my next steps on this journey. And then slowly releasing hands. I'm going to guide you through a little balance play. And if you need a wall or a chair to hold on to, go for it. Whatever you need that supports you here. So in our balance play, I'm going to let my left leg be my standing leg here to start, and my right leg is going to lift. And to start, just rotating around the right ankle for a moment. So we did this in some different shapes already, and just letting that mobility in your ankle come back in. And then from here, balancing as you rotate, right shin in one direction around your knee and the other direction. Beautiful. And here's where it gets fun. We're going to take right knee forward and towards the back. And you can kind of let your arm, you'll see my right arm is kind of mirroring the action of my right leg here. And you can even let both arms come into this. So it gets to be a little playful. And guess what? If you fall out of it, no big deal. A little bit of a quality of knee forward and back, or foot forward and back, however you want to think about it. And your whole body will kind of free flow just a little here. So a lot of you know I like the idea of the power of play, and we can bring that right into our practice and whew, fall on out of it. Good. We're going to take that into side two. Right foot to the earth. And as we lift left leg, we'll start by rotating left foot around the ankle in one direction and the other way. And then knee, right? So that our shin's gonna swing around one way and the other. And then here we go, into the hip. And you can let your arms play with this movement as your left knee comes forward and back. Beautiful. And the breath might rise to meet the shape and be a little playful. And whoop, thank goodness that wall was there. 2 feet on the floor. Okay. So take a moment, just sense your heart rate, sense your breath, sense your face. I have a big smile on mine. What's happening for you? Beautiful. We're going to come into a side bend. Feet can be hip width or together. It's totally up to you. Just breathing one way and through center and the other way. And we're going to do 2 more of those, and you totally get to tailor it to meet your needs, right? If you want both arms overhead, if you want to clasp the opposite wrist, maybe you want a curtsy step, totally yours to go with here. And then when you're ready, I'm facing the top of my mat here. We're going to inhale, open the heart, lift. Elbows can be wide. And exhale, back to our forward fold. From forward fold, finding a halfway lift, and just pause here for a moment. You can have a micro bend in your knees, and then really go ahead and explore finding a long spine. So your gaze can be down once you've found this, so that even the back of the neck can be nice and long here. Come back to your breath. Beautiful reset for your spine. And exhale, forward fold, planting your hands, invitation to step back. This time, high plank with 2 feet on the ground. Inhale. And exhale, perhaps lowering knees and chest and chin to the earth. A few rolling cobras here. Inhale as we lift, and exhale to lower. You get to choose how much weight in the hands, how much lift of your heart, the range of motion that's right for you. One more like that. And exhale, pressing back for just a moment, child's pose. Feel the weight of your body into the earth. And then lifting up through table and pressing back, downward facing dog. Now that little sequence of the option for the earth for cobra and pressing back child's pose, always there for you as we go into a second variation of sun salutation A with an option for upward dog and a little bit more vigorous movement. So you get to choose your adventure, gazing forward and either walking forward or a little hop to the front of your mat. Finding a halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way to standing. Exhale, side body through center and side body and through center. Inhale, sweeping your arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, your choice. You might step back, you might even hop back, or it can come halfway down or all the way down. Inhale, perhaps lifting upward facing dog, knees off the mat. And exhale to downward facing dog. And tuning in. Your breath, your body, your mindset. Gazing forward in your way to the front of the mat, a sauntering, savoring walk, a hop, a jump. Arriving. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale to fold. And inhale all the way to standing. This time, exhale and take a moment. Just palm to heart or palms by your side once again, sensing and feeling. What does your body need? I needed something to drink. Good. Now, I will invite you to turn towards the long side of your mat for our next transition and to step wide. So in a wide-legged stance here, I'll invite you to start by exploring a 5-pointed star. Now, this shape, rather simple in its form, but powerful. I often think of Amy Cuddy's power poses and her research around the expanded shapes boosting positive neurotransmitters and hormones and chemicals that help us feel confident and joyful. So feel the buoyancy, that quality of reaching towards the realms of potential right here. And we'll add in a little intensity by bending the knees so feet can point out here and knees can track towards your toes as we come into a version of horse or traditionally goddess. Okay, so in goddess, we can bring the arms to 90-90. You might even connect thumb to first finger for Jnana Mudra and just allowing yourself to feel the power of this shape as well. Really beautiful. All righty, we're going to lift back up through 5-pointed star, this time turning toes forward or slightly pigeon-toed as we bow forward over wide legs. So into prasarita. And as we come into this wide-legged forward fold, you can take a moment and make this yours as well. Maybe you widen your stance, maybe hands to the earth or out towards your feet. You can even walk your hands forward so the upper body is in like a downward facing dog as you fold over your legs. And you've got blocks around, and if you need a block to lift the floor a little bit higher, finding that. And eventually, we're going to walk hands towards the left. In doing so, I'll invite you to turn your left toes out towards the short edge of your mat. So just like we did with our knee down, we're going to take a version here on the inside of your left foot and just walk your hands out long. So for those of you that took with me 2 weeks ago, we got into this from a different entry point, but we're in what we call ostrich, which is like a warrior two in your legs and a downward facing dog in your upper body. And in this shape, you can even imagine if you had tail feathers that you're sending them back behind you, really lengthening through your spine. And then we're going to begin to walk the hands around over your left foot, left thigh here. Now block is here, and I'm going to use that, placing my left hand on the block as I come from the ground up into an extended side angle. Now, if you prefer to find all of this with the knee down, that's an option, okay? So you get to play with what serves you, finding your edge, especially as we come into some of these challenging shapes, really listening to your body. And from the ground up, from this extended side angle, begin to experiment with lengthening through your left leg. Now, hands on a block, and you can bring that block even to a higher setting if you'd like, as we come into Trikonasana, triangle, from the ground up. And you might gaze down or ahead or towards the ceiling. So some of you might recognize these transitions from previous flows that we've done. And I went through and I kind of curated some of my favorite transitions from the yoga classes of 2022, and I've tossed them into this class. So enjoying this one from the ground up, and you can find that one if you haven't done that one too. Now we're going to rebend into the left knee, coming into warrior two. And take a moment, familiar shape, and then remembering that what's most important is what's happening inside your mind and your heart and your body. And we'll lift up 5-pointed star. Exhale. Horse. This time as we turn the toes out, we bend the knees, and I'll invite you to take your hands to your thighs. And just for a moment, I'm going to hang out here. You can even give yourself a little bit of spinal traction as you press down with your hands and lift up through your heart. And you can stay like this, or you might twist a little bit in one direction and the other, bending one elbow, dipping one shoulder. Beautiful. Back through to center. We're going to lift back up through 5-pointed star. We're going to turn toes in and forward fold. Maybe hands to hips for this transition, or if you prefer, clasping hands behind your back, lifting the heart and folding over your legs. Head towards the earth, and maybe lifting clasped hands up towards the sky. Eventually, by way of your sacrum, releasing your hands to the earth, you might walk them forward once again, finding that downward facing dog in your upper body before we begin to walk towards the right foot, that original top of your mat perhaps, and allowing yourself to kind of find that way into ostrich. So once again, it's like a downward dog in your upper body and a warrior two in your legs. And if you haven't already turned the right toes to the front of the mat, the short edge, doing so, So you're in a nice supported shape here. And then lengthening through your spine, that quality of kind of reaching back through your tail feathers. And walking further around until we're centered over the right leg. And this time that should be a block there as well to support you. And you might place your right hand on the block as you reach your left arm overhead. Now we're in an extended side angle. Your gaze can be down in front or even up towards your left hand. And from here, beginning to lengthen through your right leg. You don't have to straighten it all the way. You can keep a micro bend. You can change the height of your block if you like. And as you gaze down, re-bending into your right leg to lift up, warrior two. Maybe gazing over your right fingertips. And when you're ready, lifting back up, 5-pointed star. You can draw your heels in slightly and feeling the stability, the expansion of this shape before drawing everything into midline, stepping feet together, maybe pressing palms together and sensing and feeling what's happening inside. Absolutely beautiful. Okay. So from here, we're going to come into another balance. This time into an eagle pose with a little flow with our 5-pointed star. So many of you have done this with me before. We're going to start with the feet together. And to transition into eagle pose, we come through chair, right? So we're bending into the knees and we're really keeping that bend. So you can't quite see it in this direction, so I want to show it from the side. Keeping that bend, I'm going to let the left leg be the standing leg to start. And taking right leg to the side and then up, over, around, maybe single wrap, double wrap, maybe kickstand your foot, right? You can really let yourself find the support that you need. You can use a wall or the top of a chair. And if you're bringing the arms in, sweeping arms out, and exhale right under left. Single wrap, double wrap, hug yourself, whichever version you're choosing. And what's kind of profound about this shape is that as we lift the elbows and draw the forearms forward, we block our view. So we have to rely upon our peripheral vision and our sound of our breath and the proprioceptive experience to sustain balance here. And when you're ready, we're going to unwind. I'll invite you to step wide and lifting through 5-pointed star and then lifting heels off the mat, balancing on the balls of your feet, really feeling the expansion after that contraction. Inhale and exhale. Let something go. You might really feel it with that one. Really let something go. Good. Letting go what no longer serves you. Shake it out, perhaps. One ankle, the other. Rock your hips, shoulders. Let your voice go. And we'll come into side two. All right, bending the knees, nice and deep, letting the right leg stay in that shape as we bring left leg to the side, up, around, over, single or double wrap. Arms can come out and left arm under, single or double. And as you lift elbows and draw forearms away from your face, you'll sense that things have changed. And you might have to sense from the inside out what it feels like to stack shoulders over hips, to draw your chin slightly back so your ears stack over your shoulders. You might have to explore from the inside out. How does it feel to find your balance? As you draw knees forward, elbows over knees. Okay, let's step it out wide. Let's open up. I am open to receiving that which supports me as I venture further on my journey, opening up to new possibilities, lifting up onto the balls of your feet. Inhale, exhale, and let it go. Take it out. Beautiful. Now we're going to take that into one more little standing flow. Some of you have done this one with me before. It was in a previous class, and we'll have fun with it again. So we're going to come to the front of the mat, or some short edge of your mat. You get to choose. And in this, we're going to find eagle once again. This time, right leg is your standing leg. I'm going to open left, up and around. Left arm under, under and around. Here we are. The inhale is here. The exhale, we're going to lean forward as we draw left knee in towards your elbows. Inhale, we're going to expand, reaching left leg behind you in an eagle-armed airplane. That's our big challenge shape. And then slowly, as you bend right knee, step left foot behind you, and we'll lift up into eagle-armed crescent. All right, let's let that go, coming into five-pointed star. Hello, we've made it here. From five-pointed star, turning towards the back of your mat, right heel lifted, right arm underneath left. Inhale, eagle-armed crescent. Exhale, leaning forward, finding balance, eagle-armed airplane. Inhale, as we begin to lift up. Exhale, full eagle, right leg over left. Inhale here. Exhale, bowing forward, drawing right knee in towards your elbows. Inhale, reaching eagle-armed airplane. Exhale, bending left knee as we step right toes to the earth. Inhale, lifting eagle-armed crescent. Exhale. And inhale, let's go ahead and come into five-pointed star. Exhale, turning towards the front of your mat, towards your right leg. Inhale here. Exhale, let's bring this time left arm under right. Inhale, lifting up, eagle-armed crescent. Exhale, eagle-armed airplane. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, eagle. Inhale here. Exhale, bowing forward, left knee in. Inhale, eagle-armed airplane. Exhale, settle left toes to the earth. Inhale, crescent. Exhale, let's five-pointed star. Inhale here. Exhale to the back. Crescent. Sweeping right arm underneath the left. Inhale here, eagle armed crescent. Exhale, leaning forward, maybe lifting that right leg. Inhale, halfway lift. As we lift the right leg and exhale into eagle. Final one, final side. Inhale here. Exhale, leaning forward, drawing right knee in. Inhale, airplane. Exhale, stepping back. One more time, our eagle-armed crescent. And let's meet five-pointed star. Hands to heart, feet together. And maybe for a moment, palm over your heart, palm over your belly. Can you sense your heartbeat? Can you sense what's moving inside, what's changing already as we stand on the threshold together? Beautiful. Turning towards the front, just for a transition through sun salutation A. Inhale, sweeping your arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, planting your hands, stepping back. High plank. This time the invitation is for everyone to lower your knees. Lower your chest and chin, coming to the earth. And then lowering your forearms down for Sphinx. So taking a moment in this supported shape, you can draw your elbows back as you draw your heart forward, maybe even draw your chin back slightly. And then some of you have guessed it, we're going into Sphinx Frog. So we're going to bend through left leg. You can be 90-90, even flex at your toes, and left hand can come to the earth. And you might stay for a moment just to give that heel rock once again, curling the right toes under. Let your body receive that rocking motion. And then untucking your toes. And beginning to gaze over your left shoulder, a little twist here. You can come in and out. Once again, a beautiful instinctual shape that you can make your own. And eventually coming back forward, placing left forearm down and sending your left leg back. Taking a moment, and then side two, bending through your right leg and curl your left toes under. Give that little heel rock here. And then untucking left toes, right hand can plant, and beginning to gaze over your right shoulder and back. Beautiful. Going back through to center, unwinding through your right leg. From Sphinx, we can open elbows wide and coming into crocodile. So letting your feet come a little wider. You can even turn your toes out towards the sides if that feels supportive for you. And resting your forehead on your stacked hands. Hmm. Oh, beautiful. And then slowly drawing your legs long, hands underneath you. And as we come through tabletop, knees can come wide, toes to touch, and a wide kneed child's pose. Letting your hips settle towards your heels. And if you need a bolster or a blanket to make this more comfortable, following and finding what you need here. And then slowly walking hands up, lifting through your upper body. And you can draw your knees together. And we'll come into a few camel variations to just kind of open our hearts in this threshold space to those new possibilities. So, option one, as we lift hips off of heels, is to curl toes under and to place your hands in your back pockets here, nice and supportive. And the aim here for our camel or Strasana, which is an intense pose, right? But we're lifting the heart towards the ceiling. And it's a reminder that even our joyous emotions can sometimes feel a little intense to embrace, to receive, right? Have you ever laughed so hard, you've sweat, you've cried, right? You know, it's not easy to feel, but it's so good for us. Just letting yourself open up, elbows can come towards each other. And then we're going to lift through upper body. Pause for just a moment. We'll come into a variation, another variation in a moment, but letting your hands perhaps rest on your thighs. You can always sit on a block. And what I find with Astrasana is that the benefits or that felt experience of the posture tends to happen immediately following. So just notice what's moving in the space that you've created. And we'll find round two. You can always opt out. You can stay in child's pose. You can perhaps come all the way back to your Shavasana at this point. Round two, as we lift up, you might again curl your toes under. I like that because it makes the grasping of heels, if you're going there, more accessible. And you can perhaps again stay where we just were, hands in back pockets, or some of you might begin to reach one hand and then the other towards your ankles or heels. And then it's up to you. We're drawing the hips forward, we're drawing the heart upward, and the chin lifting is a little kind of candle at the top of the cake here, but it's not necessary, especially if it creates discomfort in your cervical spine. But we're lifting the chin, not just dropping the head back. Whatever version you're choosing, commit to it, breathe in there. And then when you're ready, slowly lifting up, hips to heels, and receiving. We may not always know what's on the other side of that doorway, but the action of our willingness to stand on the threshold is our engagement with life. And we open ourselves to the new possibilities that arise out of that unknown yet full of potential space. Now, you might choose to stay seated for the remainder of our time together, or you can return to where we began today, which is to bring yourself all the way down onto your back. And you might follow that sequence in reverse for a moment as we draw right knee in and find a half wind removing pose. And a gentle supine twist. Gazing towards the right as knee comes towards your left. Returning to breath. And then back through center, switching sides. Left knee in, give it a little hug and squeeze. And then supine twist. Left to the right, maybe gazing to the left. And returning to center once again, this time drawing both knees in, hugging knees to chest, nose to knees, hugging everything into one tight, small seed. This is bija pose, seed pose. And then we plant that seed into the earth. We release everything, let everything go back into your Shavasana, where we began today. Full circle around the sun. So, allowing yourself to exhale here as you say to yourself, I release that which no longer serves me. And inhale as you say to yourself, I am open to new possibilities. And I invite you to stay right there in your resting shape. I'll revisit the words that we began with today, at least some of them. To prepare for it all, filling our hearts to guide us forward, flowing over this threshold, finding ease with our breath, and a fire in our spirits for all that is new. Minding still the echoes from our collective voice, our bleeding hearts now healing, remembering those souls whose energy still resonates. Now from only pure love and white light. We turn from all that was toward the silver platter of golden opportunities, looking up and opening our eyes to effortlessly see the new beauty being born of constant renewing of time and space. Our breath will ebb and flow, along with the oceans between us, fueling vulnerable hearts to open to it all. We will witness the resurfacing of the sparkle in the eyes of our most wounded. Like the sun finding its way back from behind the clouds to glisten on cool waters around this sun of ours, on a new revolution we embark, allowing our inner lights to guide Curiously, we look only forward to the gentle unfolding of that which patiently awaits. So if you would like more time in your resting shape, stay there. And if you are ready to make your transition back to sitting and back to connecting with the world around you, allowing yourself to gently wiggle your fingers, your toes, maybe finding another morning or evening stretch, depending on your time of day. And eventually rolling to one side or rocking on your spine as you make your way back up to sitting. And with palm to palm in front of my heart, I bow from the threshold in me to the threshold in you. Namaste.